go.
Well, hey guys. Hey, Dustin, Skidoojunky. Glad to see you again. Thanks for coming out for another episode of Vintage Skidoo Spotlight. Today we're going to talk about the 1995 and a half Skidoo Formula 3. So I don't know if you guys remember what you were doing in January of 95, about the second week, but I sure do. I was putting together a brand new out of the crate 95 and a half Skidoo Formula 3. So thinking back to the early 90s, Skidoo wasn't overly competitive in the 600 class. They had their 580 twin, 583. It was a good motor, great reliability, but just, you know, it was getting out-muscled by some of the other lightweight triples in its class. Polaris XCR 600, Arctic Cat ZRT 600, you know, and those types of sleds. So Skidoo had kind of dipped her toe in the water in 93, building the 780 Mach Z. It came with its fair share of headaches. 94 is a little bit better. By 95, they had most of the kinks worked out. So in 95 and a half, January of 1995, most dealers got one of what we called the Purple Screamers, the 95 and a half Skidoo Formula 3s. Whole new engine. It was a 598 triple 600 cc engine, triple pipes, and man, were they fast. Holy cow. I mean, they beat everything. I think that year at the Amp Snow Shootout, and on Dynotech's dyno, the 95 and a half Formula 3 made 14 more horsepower than any other 600 in its class, whether if it was a twin, triple, it didn't matter. So that year at the shootout, the 95 and a half Formula 3 won the 600 class as well as the 700 class, and there was a handful of them that even competed in the 800 class. They were that fast. I mean, they were literally rocket ships. You know, with all good things like that, you know, there comes some give and take. So one of the weak points, it seemed like 3,000 miles was kind of the break-even point for the PTO side crank bearings. You know, and in Skidoo's infinite wisdom, their solution was put new bearings on the end of the crank and pack them full of Isoflex. I swear the engineers put Isoflex on their Cheerios. But it worked, and they flew. They were absolutely rocket ships. And, you know, one of the things that actually made these sleds so fast that people didn't realize until later was because this was not a mass-produced engine and there were only 500 of them made, the crankcase themselves were made out of they were sandcast aluminum. So they were a little bit more porous, a little rougher than what a mass-produced spun cast case would be. Well, as luck would have it, that worked out to its advantage, and that is part of the reason why the 95 and a halves made so much horsepower, is because of that roughness of the case. It allowed that engine to atomize fuel better. So it burnt more fuel, pulled more air, made more power. So, you know, with every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So in 95 and a half, everybody was tired of getting their butts kicked by these things. So production numbers and orders for the 96s were through the roof. I think we put together 35 brand new 96 Formula 3 600s at a little dealership in East Central Illinois in the fall of 95 for the 96 winter. And when guys first got them on the snow, man, were they disappointed. Phone calls were coming in, they're like, this thing isn't really that fast, and da-da-da-da-da, and they were getting spanked by their buddies on their 95 and a halves and just weren't having it. Well, honestly, the main reason why that was because of the crankcase composition, metal composition. We tried everything, rejetting them, reclutching them, regearing them, and just couldn't really get the 96s to run with the 95 and a halves. And for that reason, you know, going back to the crank bearing issues, some of those crankcases didn't weather the storm. You know, if guys failed connecting rods or something like that, the crankcases were ruined, and you weren't replacing them. So if you got a 95 and a half with the original sandcast crankcase, and the cylinders are said to maybe have some different porting in them too, I can't confirm or deny, but if you had a 95 and a half sandcast crankcase and still had your 94 sunburst date stamped cylinders, you've got something. This particular sled is serial number 3 of 500 built. It took me to find 3 95s to make one original one. So the chassis came out of Ohio. It had a 96 engine in it, and I took 2 other junk 95s and pieced one good engine back together with all original components. Super neat sleds, tons of fun, tons of history there. You know, and these things will forever go down as the purple screamers that they were deemed to be back in the day. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's been a lot of fun for me making it. See you next time.